Hello, class, receiving students and teachers.
Hello, Mrs. Waters.
You may be seated. Now let's have a look at our previous lesson, which was on sediments. Now I'd like the class and the receiving students, you tell your teacher and the class, I'd like you to let me know or tell me what are sediments. What are sediments? Let's have Tanabik, if you can give us the answer.
Sediments are a mixture of sand, rock, soil, and gravel.
Very good, thank you. Sediments are weeded rocks and materials. Now, our next question, how are sediments transported? How are sediments transported? Let's have a girl this time because we had a boy for the first question. Jennifer?
They are carried by rivers and deposited into the seas.
Very good. They are carried by rivers and deposited into the seas. What else besides rivers transport sediments? What else besides rivers transport sediments to? Thank you. We have car out.
There are landslides, wind, and ice that are known as glaciers.
Very good, thank you. Now, Jennifer told us her answer to one of our questions was rivers transport or carry sediments, which are weeded materials that includes weeded rocks down to the seas where they are deposited. Now, we have a picture here. I'd like us to just recap our previous lesson. We have creeks, streams that come down, flow down, and join a big river where all the sediments are carried down to the sea where the sediments are deposited. Now, once the sediments are deposited, they settle down into the bottom of the sea and also lakes. Now, in our lesson for today, we will be looking at what happens to these sediments once they are settled or once they get settled in the seas or lakes. And that leads us to our topic, sedimentation. Sedimentation. Now, sedimentation takes place underwater in the lakes and ocean beds. Now, once these sediments settle in the lakes and ocean beds, they become hard or they are hardened in two ways. Firstly, they are hardened by the pressure of its own weight, meaning the pressure of that sediment and also the weight of the water above. Now, secondly, there are dissolved minerals in the sea, And these minerals help to cement the sediments together. Now, our activity for this lesson, strategy teachers. Once again, it's group work. Students will be working in groups. And before we do our activity or experiment with sedimentation, we have the first part of our activity, which says we have to predict what will happen when the sediments are mixed with PVA glue. Now, once you predict, you have to have your reasons for the predictions that you make. Receiving students, when your friends are doing that activity, part of the activity, I'd like you also to do the same. In your own groups, the groups that you are seated in, predict what will happen when the sediments are mixed with PVA glue. And you also have to give your reasons for your predictions. You are given a minute to discuss quickly and come up with your predictions. Okay, let's have from group 3. Group 3, someone from your group, I'd like you to give me your prediction. Helen, you and your friends.
We think it will get hardened. It will stick.
You think?
That the sediment will be hard. It will turn hard.
Okay, good. Say sediments. Reasons. Why do you say sediments will become hard or harden?
Because glue is a sticky substance.
Because
The mixture that we're going to do with us PVA glue is a sticky substance. It will hold it together.
okay, good, because PVA glue Now that is the prediction we got from group 3. Receiving students, I hope you also came up with your predictions and also your reasons for those predictions that you have made. Now I'd like us to have a look at our activity or the experiment steps. I have the experiment steps on the paper, so I'd like the class together with the with the receiving students to look at it as we go through. Now, firstly, you should have newspapers, and those newspapers should be spread on the desk or table you have. Secondly, you put all the materials that are needed for this experiment on the newspapers. Now, you are to make a tube out of a cardboard or stiff paper. a tube. Receiving students, I couldn't have cardboard, so I have stiff paper with me, and you have to make a tube. Something like that, that can fit into the plastic jar that you have with you. Now you have to put the tube into the plastic jar. You put a plastic cup of sand or gravel on the piece of cardboard. Now, with the model class, we have 2 groups who are working with sand and 3 on gravel. Add some PVA glue to the sand or gravel. Mix the sand or gravel with the PVA glue well. Add some more glue till the mixture thickens. Put the thick mixture into the cardboard tube. So once you have the cardboard tube, it should be placed into your plastic jar. And once you have the mixture, you pour it inside. Now push the jar lid upside down, down the tube, press down the mixture firmly. And lastly, once you have done that, you have to put the rock sample away in a safe place to dry. Teachers, we will be checking on that rock sample when we are having lesson 92. Now I'd like us to have a look at how we will set up the equipment or the apparatus we have for this experiment. Let's see. Now that is how you are to set up the experiment. But before you can do that, let's just have a look at the glue that we will be using. Now, can someone tell me what does the glue represent? The glue that we are going to use in this experiment. Thank you, Quarry.
Cement. Cement.
Cement, thank you. Anyone else has another answer besides what Quarry has given? Anyone? Messi?
Dissolved mineral in the sea.
Come on again.
Dissolved mineral in the sea.
Very good. The dissolved minerals in the sea that help to cement the sediments. Now, in cementing the sediments, it takes a long time. It takes millions of years for the minerals to be able to cement the sediments together. So the experiment that we are doing is helping us to understand how it happens. Now, why do we have where it says push down with a stick or rod? That's to push the plastic lid that you have. If you cannot push it down with a rod or stick, then you can press down firmly with your hands. Why do we have to do that? What does that represent? Listening students, I hope you are giving your answers to your teachers. Let's have someone from Violet's group. Brendan?
The pressure of its own weight and the weight of the water above.
Okay, thank you. Now in here we are trying to use that concept where we just looked at earlier in the lesson that the sediments are pressed down by its own weight and also the weight of the water above it. So that is what we are trying to do to help us to understand what sedimentation is. Now I'd like us to have a look at the related questions, questions that you have to answer after you have done this experiment before you do the experiment. The experiment done, you are going to answer these questions after the experiment. Don't forget that. The experiment done should help you to answer the first question. And the first question is, what is sedimentation? 2, what will the hardened sediments turn into? 3, write one way in which sediments are hardened. And 4, where does sedimentation take place? Now I also have it on the chart to help you receiving teachers to take note of the questions. Now if you look at questions 2 to 4, they're actually recapping or revising what you have had earlier in the lesson. Question 1 is a very new question, and you are expected to provide the answer from the experiment that you do. Now I'd like the runners from every group to come up and get your materials. Once you get the materials, please, I'd like you to follow the experiment steps and do the experiment. You should have a bigger paper than this in your hand. 2 each. Okay. Those are long ones. 3. This is where you are going to mix it. You put your mixture there and mix it up. Put your mixture here. Oh, you have one already. That's where you're going to put your mixture and mix it up. No. Oh, you have your glue there. No. I have 2. Okay, this is to get the soil width. You don't have to put everything. You have to follow the instruction. Because that one you have the glue. Just one plastic cup. Don't forget. One. Oh, you should have a, not there, not the small one here. That's where you are going to do your mix here. Okay, thank you. Okay, Jennifer, you can, once you finish, you give it to your friend. Okay. Not with that rod. Is that rod supposed to mix it? You have that knife there. If you can just shorten this, it's too long, probably somewhere down here. all of that will move. Come. Okay, just try this and we see. You have to mix this one very well. Keep on mixing it. Let me see. Okay, that's okay. See, now it's leveled. I mean, it's picture what? You have to mix it well. In this one doesn't stick your. Yeah, take this. Okay, see? That's too long, so you're going to cut part of it out. Cut part of it out and shorten it. Yes. Did you put a lid in? Let me see. Yeah, okay, with that one, then you can press it down. That will help you to press it down until it's the mixture is flattened. Yeah. So we have. How many? You just put one cup, did you? Yeah. How many cups did you put in? That's, we are already stuck with glue, so it's supposed to be sticky, but it's not. Let's see whether it can. This is okay. Just okay. Wait first. Wait. You shorten this one. So once it goes in, this one goes down, and you just press it. Press it with. Can you use the scissors? Where's the scissors? This small one here, you get that knife I gave you, scoop it down. Okay, wait here, come. You have a knife there, you can use that one to scoop it down. Come. We just put some more. don't spill it all over the place. That should be enough. That's enough now. Don't put any more glue. Bobby, while you're doing it, others can mix some more here. Where is the big paper I gave you, cardboard I gave you? Where? You're supposed to do it on the paper, but you're not doing it. You're following the instructions. Try with this one here. So once you put that one in, you put the others in. That's plastic, so whatever things we will cut it out to get our cement. Huh? In there.
It's supposed to be hanging out like that.
Where?
Or we cut it a little bit short.
But with mixing and whistling. This is what I have. What? You made it, filled it, probably hipped it up. You didn't level it. But let's see how you get that one. It will become hard. Then it should be okay. You try that. Let's see. We'll have to soften this one. Let me see. Okay then. That's okay.
I think we should have made this thing a little bit smaller, yeah.
Where? Which one? No. You finished, so you should be answering your questions. You should be working on your questions. See? You already finished yours. Thank you, Shane. That should be put away now. And over here.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you must know which one is yours. Write your book, what there, and put it in. While it's getting that one done, you others should be working on your questions now, answering those questions. Don't just sit down and stay. While it's trying to get it done, you start answering your questions. You should be answering your questions now. You've already got that done. You pressed it down already? Okay, put it in there. Have your what group number written there.
3.
And start answer, discuss and answer your questions quickly. Glue over to you. Yes, it's already finishing now. Don't just sit down and wait, start working on your questions. Over there. In there. Here, down. Okay, I cut it short, so that should be okay now. Others should be answering the questions. Fit it in well. Okay, write your what? your group in there. Quickly. And what you should be now all talking about and discussing and getting your answers, questions answered. What did you have for your first answer? We should have already finished with our experiment, and they should have been all put away at the back where you have put your limestones. You should also put your experiment that you have done also together with the others. Make sure you have your group number written on the paper so you don't get it mixed up with others. Now I'd like us to have a look at the questions that we have. Questions related to the activity or the experiment that we have just done. Our first question, it says, what is sedimentation? What is sedimentation? Let's have William, if you can tell us what you and your friends have for that question.
It's the process in which sediments are hardened by its own weight in the water above.
Very good, thank you. A good answer. Now the next three are actually revision or recapping of what we have had earlier in the lesson. The second one says, what will the hardened sediments turn into? When the sediments that you have just made, what do you think they will turn into? Yes, let's have Harold.
Cement.
They will
turn into cement.
They will turn into rocks. Thank you. One way in sediments, in which sediments are hardened. Earlier in the lesson, you heard of two different ways that sediments are hardened. If I can have the class and the receiving students tell your teachers of one of the ways that sediments are hardened. Ovin?
The pressure of its own weight and the weight of the water above.
Thank you. Another way, Patricia? Ovin has given us one way. If you can give us the other way of hardening sediments.
The dissolved minerals in the cemetery the sediments together.
Very good, thank you. Now a summary. Sedimentation is the process by which the settled, deposited sediments are hardened. We have just done an experiment to help us to understand how sedimentation actually takes place. The hardened sediments eventually will turn into sedimentary rocks. Our key phrase, if we can have Doveri.
Sediments.
Sediments, thank you. Let's see. Hardening of sediments. Now our next lesson is going to be on sedimentary rocks. And the materials that we need are listed there. Take note of that, students as well as the teachers. Teachers, you have been reminded in the previous lessons that you were to ask the students to collect as many different types of rocks as they can, and I hope they have done that. And we will be using those rocks in the next lesson. And with that, thank you, class and the receiving students, for your participation.